Okay, so here we are. It's a couple days after part one, which is in the description. Now I'm going to start the cleanup on this thing. So we're just going to unplug it, get everything unplugged on it, pop the cover back off, then I think we're going to give it a little treatment from the air compressor. Wow, that's tight. Auto exposure. I downloaded a camera app I had on my old phone, which gives me manual focus and exposure lock. Oh man, this outdoor lighting is so nice. Check that out. Anyway, we got the air compressor. Got about 100 psi. Now let's see how much stuff comes flying out of this thing. Woo. This thing has a very distinctive smell that I've smelt before. It's that smell of like musky cement basement in a house. That's exactly what this smells like, and that's probably where it came from. Man, that's unbelievable how much nicer this thing looks now. Way down in there underneath the STK. I wonder what those two yellow caps are. Maybe they're a little leakage. This big board, which is literally just the phono preamp and some switches, and this little one underneath that I can barely see, but it's just straight up the RCAs running all the way to the front. They have a big board just for that. Sure. No more dust bunnies living on top here. I can actually see the number on top of the transformer now. Cool. I think next we just start tearing her down. I figured out the camera app and where the autofocus and exposure lock was. As you see, I have a ghost hand, but the equipment looks pretty good. So I believe what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start by clearing my switches, pulling the knobs off, then pulling the faceplate. Now I have a trick to clean these faceplates, these anodized aluminum ones. And I did on my Pioneer SX636, and it works extremely well. Glass cleaner. Now, if you have like heavy dirt, yeah, wipe it off with some soupy water. But to like get that finishing shine, I guess, glass cleaner works really well. So we'll pull the knobs off. I can probably clean these by hand. Then I'll have to go get a container or something to start sticking stuff in. So I keep track of it all. Like the faceplate, once I get it cleaned off, I'll probably wrap it in a towel so it stays clean until everything else has been cleaned. So to begin cleaning the knobs, I have a container, a spray bottle with water, and a bunch of Dawn dish soap, and an old toothbrush. Well, it's not really old and it's new, but if we get right up to them, you can see the top of the volume knob by the pointer's got some sticky gunk on it. And the bass and treble knobs are just dirty. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I'll probably just time-lapse this. Imagine this whole part 2 is just going to be a lot of time-lapsing. The brush is getting right out of this little grooved surface here. Oh man, look how shiny that is already. Just got a normal rag to wipe them off. On to the next knob. Well, the knobs are all nice and clean, and the water, you can see just how dirty it is. It's got a yellowish tinge to it. Makes me think nicotine, but this does not smell of smoke at all. It just smells like musky old basement. So I think now the next thing is to pull the faceplate off. And then we can get to gutting it. Changing the camera angle yet again, I decided to put this on a towel so when I slide it around, it doesn't damage the face or scratch my desk. Now, I'm going to eventually get little baggies, but for now, I'm going to put the screws into a magnetic tray. I have 5 screws here, which are all to the faceplate. Then I have 2 thumb screws, which actually go to the side panel on my computer that I have yet to reinstall. So a lot of equipment from this era has the same type screw. Yep, they're all the same. They're really short, black, and they're coarse thread. Okay, I'm going to move the rest of the screws. I gotta flip it upside down. Is there any on the side? Well, nope, it's open. Oh, look, it's already loose. Urgh. Yep, they're there on the bottom. Oh, this does have a service panel. Maybe we'll pop that off, look at the solder joint, see if it's ever been repaired. I'm pretty sure I'm the first one to get inside of this thing. I might fix these feet too. A lot of equipment I see has the feet that slides. How do they do that? Yep, the same short, coarse thread screws. So usually when you're going into metal, they use fine threads. Usually metric, like an M3 or an M4. There ain't no metrics. So far, they've all been the same screw. And so now, I think I can flip it back over. Actually, since it's so light on one end, I might be able just to pull it off. Yep, off she comes. What? The button stayed in it. Well, there you go. That's what's behind the faceplate of one of these. A lot of these amps are the same way. Is this metal or plastic? I honestly can't tell. I think it's plastic. But it feels like maybe aluminum. It's weird. Okay. I think now we're going to set the main unit aside. No, I'm going to see if I can get that access panel off. Then we'll set it aside and start cleaning the face up. Okay, so these ones have screws with a different head on them. But they're coarse. They have a flat head, but they're still short and coarse threaded. Ow. Ow. So it looks like this access panel bolts into the side? Because there's the 2 holes that hold the top on. Well, let me check if them screws hold on anything else. Nope, those screws straight up just hold the bottom on. So let's pop them out. And they're also the short, coarse thread, but with the flat heads on them. Now, how this works is, you can see the end, you push it back and lift it up. It kind of interlocks. And there we go. Out it comes. Let's take a quick little sneaky peeky here. So this is that real basic board that just has the input switches on it. It looks fine. I can't see anything of any concern here at all. While I struggled to figure out where to set the tripod, here's your main board, which is your power amp and all your power supply. It looks good. We have a star ground. Nothing wrong with the star ground. But I do see one thing that is concerning. Grab my plastic toothbrush. Those 2 scratches right there. Looks like someone was soldering and then did a little whoopsie and slipped. However, I haven't looked all the way through yet, but all of these solder joints look good. Them ones are a little ratty, but I don't know. Sometimes these had things like that from the factory, but it's one common. You see that flux around those. Yeah, just that scratch worries me. For the faceplate, since these switches are not actually connected to the faceplate, I'm just gonna clean these up first. The same thing though, I'm gonna spray my soap directly on the brush once I figure out where I put my bottle at. There it is. And spray just a little bit right on the brush. Go over the container. This brush is filthy. And then just scrub with these buttons. In the top of the pots too, probably. I feel like this rag's gonna have to go through the wash probably about 4 times with this. Whew, look at that. Next one. Loudness and subsonic filter. Ha! How do I remember that already? Ugh, spraying soap everywhere. Oh! I thought I broke it, but hey, my dumbass never thought I could just take these off. I am very smart. And this is being stubborn. It's got a bunch of shit right on the end of it. This was probably the loudness button. That's why it's so dirty. Because, you know, everyone's got to have their loudness on, right? The feature that was originally intended to boost your bass and treble to make small speakers sound better, well, people realize if they have big speakers, they can hit the loudness button and get even gobs more sound out of them. Pull off the speaker switch buttons. Does the power switch come off too? Yep. Ooh, plastic pieces. Ow! Scrape myself on the corner. Oopsie, this scrub is not work. Ew, this one's grimy. Plastic buttons done. Now, okay, I think now we're just going to do detail work. Clean the top of the headphone port, the little tip that sticks out in the faceplate. Just clean that up. Now, before I do the gunk cake potentiometers, let's go and do a little bit of dust on the top of these LEDs. This would be the chime. This would be the time to change the color. If you don't like the green. Now that makes it easier that those little black rings, they rotate, so I can just kind of do that with them. On top of the switches. My brush is dry now, so I'm just dusting it off. Now with the pots all greasy, I will wet the brush a little bit. Just put some little sprinkles on it. See the volume. With its nut that was 2 entire turns loose. However that happens. Balance. This one would be treble. Next would be bass. Just gunk off the front, or try to, which is the sticky stuff that was on the volume knob. So something was spilled on it at some point. Now it's time for the faceplate. This is the part that, with it being grimy, I think I'm going to try soapy water. But then, after that, you can just use Windex on it. And it cleans up really nicely. So, grab my rag. That's Windex. Soapy water. And I'm going to start on this end that doesn't have the buttons, because I haven't really looked at the buttons yet. It's overexposed. Whatever. Now, since that's dawn, I am going to let it sit for just a little bit. Then we'll start scrubbing it. Oh, this stuff's coming right off. Look at the difference from just one wash. There's still a bunch of crap on it, so it's going to need done again. Same thing, I'll let it sit for a minute. Then I'll start scrubbing it, and then wipe it off. So I just went to the bathroom and rinsed this off with warm, hot water. Even on camera, you can see the difference. But I don't know how well the camera will show it. Maybe if I focus it. There's still some spots, as you can kind of see. I think this is metal, because when I ran water on it, it got really hot down here. But, actually, yeah, I think it's metal. But it feels like plastic. Doesn't make any sense. Anywho, I'm going to try maybe isopropyl alcohol, but I don't want to risk taking this off. So maybe I'll just get a rag and just scrub it with the soupy wooter right in the one spot. Of course, it's the dirtiest around the tone controls, right? Just look at that. Ew. I think this little lip in the volume knob too. Ew, sticky stuff. Let's clean it up nicely. I want to start on this side now. Same thing, rinse and repeat. That gunk on the volume knob just came right off. Or in the groove for it, I mean. Make sure you get in the cracks of all the switches. Okay, it is now about 2.5 weeks later, and we're finally getting back to this. So where we left off with the faceplate was I gave it the last scrub with the soapy water, and as you can see, how shiny it is. Now I'm going to do the Windex spray, which I don't know what it is with Windex, but it makes this anodized stuff really shine. My guess is it's got some kind of an oil in it. We're going to do this, then we're going to get back to the main unit, which has been sitting on its side against my wall for the same 2.5 weeks. Exposure, wow. And you just wipe it. You can see how it kind of adds even more of a shine to it. Okay, we're going to wrap this back up in its protective towel and get the main unit back up here. So at the beginning of this, I said I was going to try that technique where you remove the boards and just clean them in a sink with soap and water. But I'm not going to do that because these boards, they're actually not that dirty. It's just a light coating of dust, and I can probably just brush it off. Now, when you do that water trick, you remove your relays because they're hollow and you don't want your relays filled with water, but everything else is fine. Your fuses, they're in holders, pop them out. I am going to wet my soapy brush, though. But that won't be too bad. It'll all just wipe off. Ugh. Top of this thing's covered in dust. Top of our RCAs, because they're all pretty grummy. It'd be better if I actually just take this whole back off. Oh, the back of this was so much easier to get off than a fisher I was working on a couple days ago that Well, that's going to be an issue. We have a ground screw here, but the wire is wrapped around the screw and then soldered. Wow, this looks so much better. It's actually a whole different color now. It just looks like aluminum. There we go. 300 volt amp. Jesus Christ. What's the power draw and wattage? Didn't say. No, it just uses volt amp. I don't believe 300 volt amp for a friggin' 100 watt amplifier. Total impedance, more than 4 ohms per channel. Is it a 4 ohm stamp? No, it can't because I looked at the data sheet already. And it runs at too high of a voltage. Well, my allergies are getting bad, so if I sound stuffy, that's why. But as you can see, I just gave it a quick wipe down, scrubbed the boards. I don't know what that residue looking stuff is there. Might wipe it again. Still gotta do the heatsink. Done this board and the one under there. Clean top of the switches, top of the RCA blocks. So I'm going to do the heatsink, maybe hit that board one more time. And then I'm going to deoxit the switches, and then we're going to start putting it back together. Alright, cleaned the power cord, went over the boards again. This thing looks nice. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. And so now, I'm probably going to have to review my old footage to remember which order this thing came apart. I think the back cover that slid is all that goes on the bottom, ain't it? Yeah, I think. Alright. Gotta go into my pile of receiver parts over here in the corner. Oh, I forgot. I still gotta clean this one. This bottom panel, exposure. I haven't cleaned it. So I'm gonna go do that real quick. That's better. Now to slide this back on. I reviewed my footage, so I remember that this one uses the the coarse thread screws with the flat head. You stick it down in. And then we pull it back like that, and it locks in. It's kind of cool, actually. Okay, screwdriver, which I've lost. Okay, now flip it back over. Woo! To put some of the buttons back on. And I think all the buttons go on, but the knobs don't go on yet. Just grab all of our buttons. Camera readjust, not really. And they all just press on. The subsonic filter, I think they went that way. Let me check my old footage. Okay, just reviewed it. Yep, they go on this way. I think them speaker switches are in upside down. Okay, I'll figure out the speaker switches later. Let's get the face back on it now, which is all nice and shiny and still wrapped up in a towel. I think they go this way with the angle at the top. It only makes sense because then it will match the power button. Right. You go on like this. Try to line the buttons up. Nope, I think the power button and the speaker switches are in upside down because they don't match the input buttons. Cool. Put our knobs on. Make sure they're centered. And our volume's got the cool pointer, so we gotta line that up. Ooh. Where'd the top go? Over in the corner with everything else. Okay, the cover wasn't clean, so I just wiped it off, then put the Windex on to make it a little shinier. It's still dirty. I might do it again. Alright, plugged it in. First time turning it on. Let's see if it blows up. Nope, dim the lights though. Wait for the speaker relay. And there it is. Cool. Everything works.
Yeah. Downtown in the Hootie.
Well, guys, there you have it. This is the end of the, however you pronounce this brand, A-8037 integrated stereo amplifier. I'd say this amp cleaned up really nice. I'll probably do the cover another time, it's still dirty. But the inside looks nice. This faceplate looks really good. Knobs are cleaned. All I gotta do is just, maybe I can hop on eBay, find a donor unit, get that new knob. This pointer on the volume knob is so cool. Especially now that the nut on the potentiometer is tightened and it no longer wiggles and it doesn't scrape against the edge no more. But this is definitely a nice amp, and I'll be putting it in my little circulation until I find an actual proper use for it. But if you guys did enjoy this quick little, I don't even know what to call this, wasn't really a time lapse. The cleanup, basic restoration of this amp. You can feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye for now.